we're hopefully finishing up Access Project 2, where we're doing the most powerful things that databases do, querying the data. And an example query of the data, I'm just going to bring up. Let's see, what page? How about I haven't gone to Bing for a while. I stay away from Bing because Microsoft likes to enslave me to their environment. Let's do a search for Wisconsin. What's the news from Wisconsin these days?
Cheese. What's the news from
Wisconsin cheese. And let's say it must have the word cookie. Are there such a thing as cheese cookies? And let's require also the word recipe. Did you know you can add these extra little things around search terms to make sure, yes, it is looking for that? And let's do minus, and I do not want the word nuts in it. So let's see what I get. Any guess on how many hits I'll get from the gigantic database?
4.
Let's see what we get.
What?
Cream cheese cookies.
Oh, that
And how many
count.
hits? Where's my hit
There you
number?
go. Cheddar cookies. Cheddar cheese cookies. That's
How many hits did I get? Huh. No, I don't want the extension. There she is. So what did I just do? I did a query. I don't know what databases Microsoft uses, but it doesn't show me maybe it's at the very way bottom here. Related searches. I'm sad it doesn't show me how many hits it got and how long it took. But that is an example, and any website you go to, let me show you another thing. If we go to schoology.umass.edu, when you go to sites like this, or just the Schoology company, people that pop up the sites, how many of you have learned HTML? Doesn't everybody do HTML in high school? Make you do a little website stuff? That's like the standard language of every computer. Well, anyway, the web pages that you get usually will pull information out of the databases for, like, here's the today's news, here's the article that we should display when we pop up the screen. All this information is often stored on their databases. Sometimes they actually embed other websites into that. But when you log in, guess what the query is? Find the user's password that matches the login that you just entered. So everywhere you go, there's a database behind it. Unless it's a really simple, old, out-of-date website with just a static page, more and more pages use databases behind them. So you think, what does databases have to do with websites? Well, every website, their content is pulled out of the database. That's the standard way to do databases now. Okay, so let's go then, finish up our project as we go through queries, just getting a taste of it. Now, you're not becoming database experts, but you'll be familiar now when you hear geeks talking over lunch about queries and search terms and SQL. Maybe use that in a sentence today around a nerd and see if they get all excited. So starting up Access, going to my previous AC2, there I am, section 1, AC2. We've done a few queries already. Remember, you can always go back to a previous query just by double-clicking on it. You'll see the result it produced. To see the design of it, click on the little triangle pencil ruler, and you can see how it was designed. We're going to design a few more. I'm going to bring up the textbook, and we'll continue. See how far we can get with Chapter 2. The plan is to get most of the way, but then when you get back with stuff with Turkey, your mind will have forgotten some of these things. We'll refresh it a little bit.
How do we see this stuff on our sheet?
On what?
Like when I opened it, you can't see anything,
Oh, yeah, sometimes if you open it, if it's a query that doesn't have much, you can always go to either view the table. Let's see, this information came out of the owner table. To view all the information, you can always go back and view what's in the initial table.
Well, I'm talking about like the whole thing.
The whole...
Yeah, like when I open it up from my file. I gotta go open it.
Oh, you gotta go find your previous... It's easiest just to start up Access and look for... Oh, there, you browse to it. No, just double-click on that.
Oh, why did
Yep.
Okay. I opened
Okay, so we have our, remember we started with our AC1 database and we saved it as, remember? So Tabby, you have your AC1 database. You just do a file save as, and that will save your database as a new version and give it the name AC2 instead of your AC1. So you can start with your AC1, do a save as. Okay, so on Wednesday we did a few queries, just a few of them, and we're going to do some more, pretending as though you haven't done them before, just to make sure you know the steps to create the query. And so let's see, I'm going to refresh my textbook. I think it's going to make me log back in. Oh, it didn't. That's nice. Okay, so we got as far as, oh, and it's handy to put the page number in here because as we get going here, yeah, we got to AC2 page 15. So I'm going to go down to AC2 page 15. The page numbers only show up down in my corner of my page, and of course they don't show unless I click on the little page. Okay, so we've got about here.
What's the AC211 and AC213?
That was the query on page 11, AC2 page 11. Oh, let's just take a look at it. I can right-click, Design View. This is where I use the wildcard in the state. I did U star. I typed U star, or asterisk, like you can call it. If I type that in the criteria and hit enter, it turns that into a like, quote, U asterisk quote. When I search, or when I run the datasheet view, I see only the owner states that begin with the letter U. And I'm going to close that without saving changes. So now we're going to create another criteria in our query. And we're going to create a table, a query, on the treatment cost table. What that means is I do create, query design, and the table that I want to get information from is the treatment cost table. Double click on the treatment cost table, and then close the show table dialog. And now we can decide what fields we care to list or select out of the treatment cost. And what we want to select out of there is treatment number, double click, treatment, double click, animal type, and costs. So I want every field in that order. Remember, if I want a different order, I can always click on a column and move it around in the order that it's listed when I query the data from the table. I can put it back where it was by grabbing that and moving it back. I have to select it once and then click again to grab it and move it around. And right now, without any criteria, I'm going to see all the information from the treatment cost table, as though I were looking at the table in its complete data. So a query without any criteria, I might as well just open the table and see what's in it. But once I start adding criteria then, that makes the query much more powerful. And remember, actual applications, real-world databases have thousands, if not millions, of records. So you can't go search for them by hand. The queries go get the information for you of what you need to know. So in this particular one, we would like to see the cost. We're looking for any treatments that cost $25. So that means I put in the criteria under cost the number 25. And I hit the datasheet view. And there's only the treatments that cost $25 are listed out of my table, even though I know there's more treatment costs than those three, because it matched the criteria of 25. So exactly 25. And I'm going to save this query by doing now, since I started a new one, I can do the Control-S thing. And I'm going to save that as AC2 what page are we on? 17. AC2-17 M02Q03. So they'll be sorted by order in the book. There's the name that the book asked me to give it. And if I want to add cost equals 25. I can see that in the name. Sometimes it's helpful to put just a short description. And then I click OK, and it shows up in my list of queries. AC217, cost equals 25. Double click, and I see the results. Click on the triangle, and I see the design of it. So if someone says on a quiz, create a query that lists the treatments numbers, the treatment, animal type, and cost, where the cost is equal to $25. This would be the design of that query. 25 in the criteria.
How'd you double click to see the data?
Oh, just click on here.
Oh,
Now, if I don't have it open, I can just double click on the actual query, and by default it pops me into data view. And if nothing shows up, go back to design and check, did you put the criteria in the right thing? So if I accidentally put 25 in the animal type and hit enter, see what happens. That means, oh, something was wrong with my query. That doesn't mean my table's empty. My query, there's nothing where animal type is 25. So that's a wrong criteria. It's not going to complain about the criteria. It'll just say, oh, there's nothing that matches that. I could put greater than 25, and it will show me all the treatments that cost more than $25. So I can do comparisons in that. I'm going to close this without saving because I want it to not be saved. I'm going to right-click, close, and not save changes because I don't want to mess with what I already had. I just experimented with that criteria. Now we're going to build another one up on the appointments table. What we're looking for is appointments after June 30th, 2021. So I want to right-click on the appointments table. Sorry, not right-click. I want to click on the appointments table and create query design. Actually, I don't have to click on anything. I can just do query design. It asks me here what table it has the appointments selected, and I click add the appointments table by either clicking add or double-click appointments and close. For now, we're only doing simple queries on one table at a time. You're going to learn to do multiple tables in just a little bit here. If you want to expand this out to see all the fields, that's fine. You don't have to. What we want to see is the appointment date, double-click. The appointment time, double-click. The treatment number, the veterinarian, and patient ID. So the order is not the same as the order in the appointments table. Now the criteria, right now without any criteria, whenever I'm designing a query, I always run without any criteria first, just to see, yeah, that's the information I have in the table. That's the order I'm listing it. Then I can come back to design view and add the criteria. We're looking for a date after June 30th. Well, that would mean a criteria would be on the appointment date. After June 30th is a number. Remember, time is stored as a number in computers. So what we're looking for is a number that is larger or greater than the number assigned to June 30, 2021. And I can just type the date as I would type a normal date, just 6/30/2021. And if I hit enter, it puts little pound signs around that date. Don't worry about that. We'll just let access to its thing. And now when I click view, I only see 2 appointments, and yes indeed, they are after June 30th. If I want to confirm, I could go back and look at the appointments table and see, yeah, there was one on exactly June 30th. That didn't show up because I said greater than. And there was one on January 10th. That also did not show up. Or actually, there are 2 exactly on 6/30. So it had to be a day after. Yes?
I realized my head was just stretching.
Oh, we have a question, second row here, right? You good?
Yes.
Oh, way to go, man.
What's the criteria for the date? I can't get
The date greater than 6/30/2021. Back to my design view. There's my criteria. And it puts the hashtags in there. You don't have to type in the hashtags. It puts them in there for you.
greater than hash. Okay.
Now, if I want it before June 30th, guess what I would do? I would do a less than June 30th and run it. There's all my dates before June 30th. If I want June 30th or before, I can do less than equal next to each other, and I get dates before or on June 30th. So dates are just like numbers. After June 30th, it's greater than June 30th. And there I get those. And this one here, we're saving, let's see what we're going to save this one as. We're running it. We go play with different criteria. Okay, now we're ready to save it. And we're going to save it as page 2-18. So we're going to save this one now. I can right-click Save.
What do we call the query?
That's what I'm telling you right now. I do Save, and I do AC2-18. And they have it labeled as M02Q04. And let's see, we did a greater than, I'll put date after June 30, 2021. Now you don't have to put a real long name in there, but I think it's helpful to know what was that about. After June 30th means greater than a particular date. Remember in our design, or actually in our table design, that was a data type of date. That's why that works for us. If it had been short text, I don't think it would have worked properly. All right, so now you're getting to be more and more experts at these criteria things. And remember, if you're the nerdy type, you can always go back and look at the sequel view, and you can see that while we're doing the selecting of data out of our table, and we have this thing added to it, this thing called the where clause. It's basically the condition to show that data. But back to the normal world of real people, normal people, there's our data sheet view. I live in the world of nerds, so I'd like to let you get a taste of my world sometimes. Okay, saving that one. Remember that criteria greater than. All right. Let's see if they have us start a new one or combine. Yep, we're going to start a new query. We're getting even fancy-schmancy-er. Start again, a new query. Create query design. Now we're going to create a fancier criterion. This time, we're going to do a query on the appointment table again. Double-click appointments. And that's the only table. And we're going to include appointment date, appointment time, treatment number, and I'll stretch it out here, and veterinarian and owner, just like the other one, but in that order. Double-click owner. And now I'll grab this up so I can see my design grid. Now, just like before, I'm putting appointment date 6/30/2021. I don't know why they didn't start with that previous one, giving us practice at building it from scratch, 2021. Oops, 2021. Now, I don't know if you'd notice, but there's this little word or underneath criteria. What that means is either I can put it on the same line as this criteria, or I can add an additional line before it. For this one, we're going to put B01 on the veterinarian. B01, capital B doesn't matter. Since it's on the same line as the greater than date thing, I'll bet you guess it that these both have to be true in order for me to show data. And let's see if anyone shows up. Is there a B01 appointment for veterinarian, or is there an appointment for veterinarian B01 after June 30th? Let's find out. Yes, there is one appointment for veterinarian B01. They call in and say, "Hey, I'm quitting in August." And now we have to go look up and say, "Wait a minute, we have appointments for you. We better call those or reschedule them. Check what appointments does that veterinarian have after the date he's deciding to quit or retire." Well, this would be how we find out. Some customer calls up and say, "Well, I had an appointment. I remember it wasn't in sometime in September." Well, we can say, "Well, any appointments after June? Oh yeah, search for that." But it's only with this particular veterinarian. Now let's see if they're having us save that one. This is what we call the AND. This is the ANDing of two criteria. This has to be true, and this has to be true in order for us to see the result of that query. I'm only going to see it for both after June 30th and veterinarian V01. And they want us to save this one, and we are on page, look, we got to page 20-something now. Page 19, we're not quite to page 20. So I'm going to save this one as, Control-S, save, AC2-19. They call it M02Q05. I'm going to add and criteria. And criteria. Two things have to both be true in order for us to see that information. Just like when you're doing searches, you can set up, it has to both have cheese in it and cookies before I'm going to show the results. In this one, we have to have date greater than 6/30 and veterinarian V01. Now to show you a little, they call this compound criteria. Now we're going to change that the same, let's say, making sure where you can use the same appointments. Yeah, it looks like you can use the same appointments query. We're going to change it now. Delete the V01 by selecting it and hitting delete. And let's now add V01 on the line below it. Now that means it's either after June 30th or it's for veterinarian V01. By being on a different line, it is a compound query with the OR criteria, with multiple possibilities. And now we see we've got a lot more information shown because it's any veterinarian V01's appointments, and also this guy, because this one happens to be after June 30th. So you can combine criteria, and this is the most common search you're doing on the internet. When you search for multiple words, they're looking for those words that are either one word or another. If you want to do a search that includes only those two words, did you know this? That if you put a quote around cheese cookies, for example, that means it has to have that phrase in the search, not the word cheese or the word cookies. And I still get some results because I have cream cheese cookies. So see how the exact phrase has to be in there. That's how that compound criteria on the standard websites work. So this design is showing us compound criteria, either after June 30th or veterinarian V01. And let's go ahead and save this one. Actually, remember, don't do a Control-S because we already have one with this name. Let's do a file save as. This is where you're modifying one. You don't want to wipe out the previous version. Do the file save as, save object as, and then another save as. And now I'm going to call that AC2-20. Compound criteria. Let's see, did they give a name for it? We'll use their name here. We save it with compound. M02Q06. And we'll call it compound criteria. And I'll put OR in it. We use the OR. And now I save it. And it's showing up nicely in the order of the book. Now it's time to get special. We have special criteria. Looks like they're not, they're not making us do that. So let's see here, what are we doing here? We're going to clear the design grid and completely start a new query. It'll still be using the appointments table, but I can click on this design grid. Let's see, and just drag. Let's see if I drag through selecting, or let's try select all. No, that didn't do it. Drag through. No. If I grab the little gray bar, drag through. There we go. Drag through the tiny gray bar at the top. Hit the delete key, and I've cleared my design grid. Now, is there an easier way to do that? Let's see. And Control Z doesn't get it back. So if you want to clear the design grid, you can start a new query, or you can select through that tiny little gray bar at the top, hitting delete, and now we've started a new query. And we have a few extra tables. We already did that, didn't we? We better check extra tables. Didn't we already import the vets extra tables? Everybody better check. CMF, they have us now wanting to import the CMF vets extra tables. Let's go check that before I import it to see what they're talking about. I'm going to browse over to where I have my databases. Go down into, I'm going to list these by details. Going to go down into the access module files, module 1 data, oh actually module 2 data, that's right. Module 2 data I haven't extracted yet. Extract your module 2 data. They have a file that we need to import data from. Remember we did the import on module 1. They want some more data imported. Now I remember the import thing. Remember how we can extract all from that zipped module 2 data where we downloaded our data files. Everyone able to find their data files? Extract them. And let's see, Tabby, if you don't have your data files, I'll show you where you can get those. The data files are right here. Link to data files document right there on Schoology. Link to data files document. If you go there, download the access Word module, data modules 1 to 3. And then extract all those. And inside of there, you will find these files we have to extract. And there is vets extra tables. If you want, well, I'm not going to open that because Access having two things open is confusing. That's what we're going to be importing data from. Vets extra tables. So again, we've done this before, but it's been a while. Remember how we can get data from that other table now that it's extracted? External data. Now, if you show, new data source should show up. From database, from access. New data source, external data, new data source, from database, access. And now we browse over to where I had that all downloaded. Over on my special drive, my users AT Manning, document cs101, section 1. Down in access module 3 data. Oop, I think I did one. Module 1, module 2 data, not module 2. Why am I not seeing it there? I thought I extracted that. We used to have a big roll in here. No, I don't see any. If you need to, you can go grab some in the restroom around the corner. There used to be a big roll around here. Let me go back to see where I had those. I can't find my module 2 data files. I have them over here. Where am I? I am M drive. Why it didn't show up? M drive. I'm on the M drive. Document cs101. Let's try to see if I can find them again. That's the table I'm looking for. Back to access. Section 1. Module 1 to 3 data. It's only showing me mod 1, 0 file. That's weird. Let me go back and make sure I have extracted in the right place. Go up a level. 2021 fall. Document cs21 fall. Section 1. Oh, I accidentally went to my section 2. I hadn't done the first section 1. There we go. Now I'm extracting for section 1. I mixed up myself. I have 2 sections there. Now I have the data. Now I'll go browse to it. the right place now. Back to my cs101, section 1, module 1 3. There we have module 2 data. And go down into there. Vets extra tables. We're going to be importing tables into this database. And it shows me there is a veterinary vendors in that database. And let's check to see if that's all we want to bring in. Pretty sure that's the only thing I see there. Yeah, we're bringing in vendors now. I can do a select all or select that and do OK. I don't need to save my import steps because I only do one import, and an extra table shows up, veterinary vendors.
So that's in that download that we did?
Yeah, from that download, extract, and be sure to extract all the module 2 data files. Then it shows up in there. Remember, when you first download it, there's a zip file, and then there's 3 zip files within that zip file. If I just explore the veterinary vendors table just to see what they imported for me, there I see 5 vendors listed. Nothing more to worry about. I was just curious what's in there. Now I can come back to the appointments table and we're going to new query. We're going to close this query and create a new one. And I don't want to lose my design grid, so I'm going to say no because I'd like to have what I had there before. New query now. Now that veterinary vendors is imported. Create query design. And I'm happy to wait for anybody getting that data opened and imported. It's up to you to let me know if I need to wait for you.
Please wait.
While I'm waiting, I'll just get started with just one table, and it's going to be on the treatment cost. The fields that I'm going to be using are the treatment and cost. The only thing we're doing for this one,
Do you want us to like make a copy of this one, or is this still on the same one?
this is a new query. We're done with the appointments query. We can close it. This is a whole new one. We're starting new. We did a create, query design, show table, treatment cost, double click treatment, and double click cost. A whole new query, no copy of anything. Now, we're going to learn one tiny little thing. You got your data extracted there, Mr. Marchand?
Getting there.
Getting there. And he's not even. Oh, I know. This Mac guy has a hard time working with PCs. That's why, right? And you are on a decently fast PC. But they do get slower as you go towards the back of the room. Now, what we're going to do with this one, we're going to use this little sort option underneath costs. I can sort my treatment cost ascending or descending or not sorted, which is the default. So we're going to sort the cost ascending. And now run the query. And now I have the cost from cheapest to most expensive. Just by changing my ascending, even without any criteria, I can sort my data. Another thing you do, right, when you go to eBay, show by cost plus shipping, lowest to highest. Or you go to Price Point or PriceWatch.com or Craigslist. Show me the things cheapest first. Well, you're doing a sort ascending as I extract data from that database. You ready for me? You gonna catch up with us, John? You good?
So,
Are you here yet?
yes, sir.
All right, way to go. So, yeah, that's all we did with this query. Very simple query, treatment and cost, from the treatment cost table. The only new thing here, sorting it ascending. So we're going to save that as AC2-24. And it's M02Q07. Cost sorted. And I'm going to put the word in ascending to remind me that's what determines the sorting lowest to highest. And I click OK. You do this all the time when you go to websites. They often automatically do it for you. They show you the people or the places to go. Or sometimes your results are sorted alphabetically. I think usually your results are sorted first by the people that are paying Google to show up in the searches first, and then by best match to your search.
Was it cost sorting as ascending?
Yep. Yeah, AC2-24,
Oh.
M02Q07, cost sorted ascending. The AC224 is the best thing to have in there, so you can always, if you're ever confused or are reviewing, you can go right to the page, what were they saying about that. And that's it for that one. They want us to do another one. Oh no, we're not doing another one. We're returning to design view. Oh, and notice what when we see this, we see many listed at a cost of 20. Well, suppose I don't want to.
Could you go back to normal view on that for a second?
See how it's sorted by cost? Sorted ascending. Now somebody decides they just want to know what are the different costs of our treatments. Well, if I only want to see the different costs, I can delete the treatment field by just clicking in the gray and right-clicking delete, so right-clicking cut. And now I just get a list of different costs, ascending. But someone says, wait a minute, since I only care about seeing what costs we have, I don't need to see $10 twice. So go back to design view, and I can, in my property somewhere here, I need to see the, oh there we go, I need to open up the property sheet. Something new we're going to learn here now. I can see the property sheet of this particular query. And in the property sheets, underneath the lookup, no, I need, oh, I have to click on the gray. I can't click on the table. Once the gray of my, of the design grid, I can see unique values in my properties, and I can turn on unique values by clicking, toggling it to yes. Now, this is where it could get really confusing. Lots of nerdy things back here about properties of this query. We're only going to play with the unique values one. Watch what happens when I turn unique values to yes. Now when I run the query, I only get one listing of each price. Not sure how useful this is, but they go through this in the book just to show you the kind of things that can be done in the details of our query. Rather than have multiple things listed multiple times, I can just say, wait, just give me the unique values in your results. Turning unique values to yes lets me see just the prices. So we did quite a few things here. Remember, we deleted the treatment field because that would have made them all unique with a unique treatment name. We deleted treatment first, and then unique values means something when all I'm listing is prices. I might have multiple prices listed the same. That's kind of a confusing one, but they worked that through in the book, so I figured I'll give you a little bit of peek at the extra things you can do. Now, they ask us to save this. This one, they actually don't give us a name in the book, but we're going to save this one as, do a file, save as, save object as, Save as. And since they didn't give us a title, let's save it as AC2 dash, what did I say the table was? 2-25. I'll put in unique values. Unique values. That property sheet, usually we don't care about the property sheet because there's a lot of confusing things in there. So unless you need to mess with something in the property sheet, don't worry about needing to know all about the property sheet.
I'm not seeing all the data you are for property.
Well, you have to click in the gray, not on the table. It's funny, if you click on the table, you see just the property sheet of that table. But if you click in the gray out here, then it shows you the properties of that. I've got another thing, very much easy to be confusing in Access. Why should the property sheet change? Well, I'm asking about the properties of the table, I guess. Here, I'm seeing the properties of the query. Let's see if I click in Design Grid, do a different... Oh, if I'm down here, it looks like the property sheet doesn't change. Only if I select the table, then I get a completely different property sheet. Okay, so close the property sheet unless you need to worry about unique values. Now we're going to do a little more sorting. Maybe we'll get a couple more done here. We're going to create a query on the cost table again. So on the treatment cost table, close this one. Saving my changes, yes. And another new query, create query design. The table is, this time, treatment costs. And the fields that I want to see in the treatment costs are this order: treatment number, the treatment, animal type, and cost. We're going to be adding criteria, but first, there's the data. Come back to design view. The criteria is going to be, actually there is no criteria. We're just sorting it by animal type. You can double click to toggle through the possible values, double clicking. Double click cost to make that ascending. And now a little explanation. When you have multiple columns being sorted, the first column is the highest level sorting. So we're going to be sorting on animal type first, and then within the animal type, then we'll be sorting by cost. So this is a two-level sorting. Two-level sorting. Sorting first by animal type, then by cost. And the reason is the animal type is the leftmost one. That determines the first level of sorting.
Interesting.
Now if I click the view, I'll see all the canines first because it comes alphabetically before felines. And then within canines, sorted lowest to highest. And this is our last query for today. We are going to save this one as AC2-27. I'm going to do a Control-S save. AC2-27. We're going to call it M02Q08 sorting multiple fields. Remember, a field is a column. I'm sorting first by animal type, then by cost. This comes in handy when you're sorting people's names. You sort first by last name, then by first name. So each family, they will be listed by last name, and then within the family, listing alphabetically. You could also sort by families and then by ages within family. Multiple fields, a very common way. You are learning things that you don't see available to you on some websites, but now you're getting an idea of what they're doing back in the details. And we will save that. We will finish this up after you have lots of turkey and lots of rest and catch up on all your homework. That's all you're going to do over vacation, is catch up on your homework. Before you eat the turkey, all your homework will be caught up on. Or maybe before you go home, you'll catch up on all your homework. Then you can have a real vacation. That's not going to be my vacation. Maybe Saturday I might be able to catch up on everything. All right, have a great day. It's floor chapels.
Thank you, Mr.
Floor
Mayor.
chapels. Dream of databases and turkeys.